Okay, let's switch in English because our first guest is not from Italy. I'm sure that all of you know Pentagram, so no need of words about this studio. But let me introduce a bit our guest, Astrid Stavro. Astrid started her career in Barcelona, where she founded her studio, and she joined later in 2018 Pentagram crew. She's an expert of concept-driven design, and in her career she has some incredible customers and clients. She is now visiting lecturer at Royal College of Arts and also member of AGI. So welcome to Astrid. Please join me on the stage.
Thank you.
It's pretty an honor to start this festival with your presentation. So the stage
my
is
honor.
yours.
Grazie. Ok. Posso parlare? Sono italiana, triestina. Scusa. Allora posso parlare in italiano o in inglese? Chi vuole italiano che alzi la mano. Inglese? No, bisogna fare di nuovo. Scusa. Italiano? Inglese? Là ce ne... Ok. Beh, ok, forget it. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very impressed with the organization. I had a luxury tour, courtesy of Fabio, to see all the amazing things happening at the same time. It's like a Woodstock of design, but without the mud, so it's so much better. So I'm gonna talk about my life. I'm not old enough to talk about my life, but the entire talk is going back instead of the future, and I hope it kind of makes sense at the end of the talk. That's me. And so it's called Back to the Future. So in a way, it's like, in order to go forward, we have to first go backwards. So if you don't like the past, you can leave right now because there's a lot of past in this talk and there's a lot of old-looking men. So we're going to start with my grandfather. He's the guy on the left. And he was a banker, a finance guy who moved from Bregenz in Austria to Trieste, which was a part of Austria at the time. And he opened several companies. One of them was a publishing house called Österreich Lloyd. And they had some amazing equipment like these. These are owned by my father. I don't know what that does, but it looks amazing. And I hope that I have a house big enough to which is not going to happen in London, definitely, but a house big enough to have these things. And they were a very modern and technologically advanced printer at the time. This is one of the first monotype machines in Europe. And this was my I don't know where to look, because it's like schizophrenic, which just makes sense because I'm really schizophrenic. So this was the playground where I played as a kid. I spent hours and hours and hours in here. This is how it looked, the publishing house, just before my father inherited the business. And what I love about this place is because it's static, but it's a very noisy place, and you can really hear, I can see this and hear the sound of the presses, and the oozing stink, amazing stink of paper and ink. And these were my Legos. As a kid, there was it was a very old printer. In the back room, there was a room where I would set little lines with type. Nerdy stuff that graphic designers like to do. So that's my father on the left, and the guy on the right is not Paul Rand. He was the technical director of the printing press, and they're working on my father's first book, which was actually a monograph on an Italian sculptor. But my father's dream at the time was to open a publishing company specialized in children literature. And this is what he did. So this was his dream, and he managed to do it a few years later. This is my favorite slide. This is my son, because we all read these books. It's like a family tradition. They're beautiful books, beautifully printed, beautifully illustrated, and amazing stories. Nothing to do with Walt Disney. or anything like that. Not that I don't like Walt Disney, but this is a lot better. This is Dinosaurs and All That Rubbish, illustrated by Quentin Blake. Yok Yok, an amazing series, illustrated by Etienne de la Serre. And the wonderful news for my sister Yara and I, when we were kids, is that we traveled all across Europe in this VW camper van that we called Pisello, visiting the illustrators whose books we read at night. So just imagine how amazing it is for two little girls to go and meet the illustrators of the books that we read at night. And I remember being with Etienne de la Serre in his studio in Zurich. He lives in Canada now. And seeing Etienne draw Yok Yok in front of my eyes. And he's like, ah! You know, it's like magic exists. And this sense of magic has returned a few times in my life. I'm going to show you some of the magic moments. I have a big collection of drawings. This is by David McKee, Sampé, Mordiscio. And of course, all these things inspired me to pick a drawing at an early age. Can you spot me? On the left, looking very frustrated. So it didn't take long before I figured that drawing was definitely not my cup of tea. So I really got into books. I got into content more than books. And I became a book kind of freak, nerd, whatever. And I started reading a lot. But I kind of was torn in between the form of the book and what the books actually said. So anyway, because I couldn't draw, and this is for anybody in the room that cannot draw, that stickers are a great thing, substitute. So Tyrannosaurus Rex for the cover. And this is the first big book I did when I was approximately 11 years old. So then I really got into the content of books, and I decided to study philosophy and literature. I moved to Boston University, where I studied both. But when I discovered this magazine, at the time designed, I don't know if it was Tibor Kalman or Fabian Baron, Interview magazine, and this is the reason why I became a graphic designer. Because I was used to reading literature and philosophy books that are kind of really boring looking, because it's the same size and everything is in black and white. And then I see a spread from this. It was a spread made with lemons, and I thought, fuck. I mean, the content was like jumping out of the page and, you know, coming to life in the way in which it played with words and images. And I thought, who wants to read literature and philosophy when you have this? So that was the end of my philosophy career. So I went to Central St. Martin's to study a BA, then the Royal College, a master in London. And I was really lucky. I think I'm lucky all my life. This was Alan Kitching, one of my tutors at the Royal College, Mr. Letterpress. And it was with him that I did a project, which I will show you now, another old man, the Ambrose Bierce. Because literature and philosophy obviously influenced my way of approaching design, because I always think too much, which is a good and a bad thing. Anyway, Ambrose Bierce, one of the authors that I discovered in literature. He's an amazing guy. He got lost in, if you don't know him, in Mexico. You should read his life. It's fascinating, and he was never found. Anyway, he was a journalist, and he had a column in an American newspaper called The Devil's Dictionary. And then he put all these columns together in the form of a book. And these are some of the entries from the dictionary. It's a satiric dictionary from the A to Z. So an architect is one who drafts a plan of your house and drafts a plan of your money. Diplomacy is the patriotic art of lying for one's country. We should tell this to all the politicians we have today. Sorry, an egotist, this is one of my favorites. An egotist is a person of low taste, more interested in himself than in me. Politeness is the most acceptable hypocrisy. So it goes on, and it's an amazing book. You should all read it. So what I did, you know, one of the marvels of the internet is that actually the entire book was online. So I downloaded the entire thing in a PDF or whatever it was, and I designed this book in 2 weeks in a course by Alan Kitching, and I binded it. The binder said, no, I cannot bind it in 24 hours. He's like, well, you have to. You know, it's like, this is the kind of thing the designers do. So it's a typographic interpretation of every single entry in the dictionary. And I had so much fun doing this, you can't imagine. And it was done in freehand. For any of you who don't know freehand, it's a fucking nightmare. But actually, I miss freehand a lot. But basically, you have to place letter by letter. It's almost like a letter set kind of thing. This is my studio in Barcelona, which, as you said in the introduction, the first studio I opened. I changed studios places, but I ran my own studio for 10 years. And then he popped out, not out of a trash can, but it's a similar experience depending on the point of view. And when he was born, my son, Marco, life changed dramatically. And forever, whoever has kids in the room knows that there's a before and an after having kids, and the after is definitely not a highway. So you're still in time. So it was because of him that we moved from Barcelona to Palma de Mallorca, which the Balearic Islands, I'm sure most of you know the Balearic Islands. It's an amazing, beautiful place known for its amazing, beautiful beaches. And that's where people go on holiday, not to work. And we were crazy enough to go there, and because we wanted a better life for our son, surrounded by nature, so he could go to the beach, things like that. And we opened a design studio here with my husband, who's also a graphic designer. So, we kind of did everything wrong. All the things that you don't have to do, we kind of did. And when we say that we work there, this is what people imagine. We work there, sorry. This is what people imagine, and it's very, very similar, except for the laptop. And this was the entrance of the studio, which we called Atlas, and we called it Atlas because we worked for clients all across the globe. And there's Giovanni here, which is an ex-Atlas designer. And that's me, sleeping naps in the Vespa, which Pablo's Vespa. And I kind of miss the Mediterranean lifestyle, so it's really nice to be here. This is Tina Turner, we called her Tina Turner, the mascot of the studio, because her hair is impossible to control and she never ever dies. Sorry, and that's the team, that's the team at the very beginning. This, not Tina. The team at the very beginning, it was a big change for me to move from Astrid Stavro studio to Atlas, because it was more people, we had the capacity to work in bigger projects. And it kind of got more complicated, more confusing, but also more fun, because I love to play ping pong when I work. And we know how to pose really well when we get our pictures taken. And these are corners of the studio. There's a lot of type, as you can see, everywhere. We like type, anything with big letters on it. And I'll show you a short 3-minute video film, whatever, of the kind of work we did at Atlas, which has some of the work from Astrid Stavro Studio, some of the work from Graphica, which is my husband's ex-studio, and most of it is work that we did at Atlas. Thank you. So a lot of the things, actually most of the projects you're going to see are made with the hands. And what I mean with the hands is that I think we spend too much time on computers, and it's actually great to get away from the computer and use the letters or whatever it is that we use, that can be used, that is not computer-based, because there's nothing worse than sitting on a computer all day long. And it's really nice to use our minds and to use different tools, because a computer at the end of the day is a tool. Okay, message sent. So when we can, we use these lead type or wood letters from our collections. This is in particular from my father's printing press, but Pablo had also a big collection of wood type. And we use this to create a project that I'm going to show you now. These guys, Maciabatle is a winery in Palma de Mallorca, and they came to Atlas and asked us to redesign this label. It's a supermarket wine. So a supermarket wine here means that it's like a 6, 7 euros kind of wine that you buy in the supermarket, and they weren't selling enough. So they said, we want you to redesign the label and to come up with a name for the wine bottle. So this is a Corte Inglés, which is like La Rinascente or something like that. Who knows El Corte Inglés? Oh, wow. But there's no Corte Ingleses in Italy, are there? Anyway, okay, but so it's a big, a massive shop, basically. And here, just underneath the shop, we found this place called Nueva Imprenta Balear, which means the Balearic printing, and it said lithography, etc. And we thought, oh, what is that? And it didn't look very promising, because the vitrines looked like this. And the other vitrine looked like that. But it did have letters on it. So we thought, that's interesting. Let's walk into this place. And it turns out that in the shop, in the back of the shop, they had a printing press, which looks like this. And they used to print all the posters, the beautiful typographic posters in the island. So then we talked to Roberto, this guy, and said, can we use your press can you use your press? And he said, yes, of course. But the press hadn't been used in more than 60 years, so Roberto had to call his father, and they had to order some pieces from Germany to actually make the machine work. And his father actually started crying when the machine was put in, and Giovanni knows because he was there, when the machine started working. So we took some of our letters there, we placed them into the machine, and this is what we did. And we called the wine 1856. And basically, it was an excuse to make a nice typographic poster, which was used in turn to wrap the bottles. But so this is a big poster. And this is the bottle in the end. So it was the center of the poster was used for this, and the poster was used also as promotional material for the thing. Then the winery made a test, like a consumer test, and got people together to try both wines, the one that you saw at the beginning and this one, and they asked, which wine do you prefer? Which one is better? And they all said, this one without the shadow of a doubt. Some people say that graphic design is not useful. And there's another detail. So now I'm going to show you some references. My references as in the things I love, have loved for a long time, and they really reflect the way in which I think about graphic design. And they're kind of my icons. So Unforgettable Images That Changed Our Life is a book that was designed and conceived by Peter Davenport, this guy, and he studied at the Royal College of Art. He was a graphic designer. And what I love about this book is not actually the design, but the content. And the particularity of the book is that when you open it, there's nothing in it. There's just captions. So the Olympic Games symbol, designed by Baron Pierre de Coubertin, Charlie Chaplin, the Tramp, Campbell's soup can by Andy Warhol, McDonald's Golden Arches logo, created by James Schindler, I Love New York, Milton Glaser, View of the World from 9th Avenue, the New Yorker magazine cover by Saul Steinberg. Anyway, it's amazing. Actually, well, it's amazing. The amazing thing about the book is that if you read the caption, you can actually see the image. The image doesn't even have to be there. And what I find fascinating is that it's a sociological reflection on the society in which we live and the importance that the images have in our society in general and how they permeated our collective memory. And I love that it's a graphic designer as well that did this. And the reason why it's actually white, without images, is because he didn't have money to pay for the copyright of the images. So sometimes accidents are great. On the exact opposite of the spectrum is the Pointed Traveler's Language Kit. And it was conceived by Dieter Graff. He was an architect who in the 60s traveled a lot to India. And because of all the dialects spoken in India, people often recur to sign language to speak to each other. And when I went to Japan, I thought, oh, fuck, I forgot the pointed book at home, because if you go to a place whose language you don't speak, this is a very helpful thing to have, because you never know when you might need, a duck. And the only thing you do is point at what you need, and everybody goes, oh, yeah. So, it's communication for, it's a bit like Colors Magazine, communication for everyone and across the world. It's very, very practical. I highly recommend it. This is the title credits of a movie called Fahrenheit 451, a novel written by Ray Bradbury, directed by Francois Truffaut, and they speak for themselves. I like graphic design that speaks for itself. So, another example of less is more. Also, it's timeless in the sense that this was done in the 60s, and you refer to this and you think it's fucking genius. This is the kind of thing I wish I would have done myself. Bruno Minari, Il supplemento al dizionario italiano. I'll skip through this because you all know exactly what this is, and if you don't, buy the book. Non-Italians love this, by the way. Also because I gesticulate a lot when I speak. Non ho capito. Okay, Joan Broza is an artist and a designer and a poet and many other things, a Catalan artist. And I discovered him when I moved to Barcelona from London. I actually didn't know him before. I love his work. I love absolutely everything he does. He's a very graphic artist. These are some of his visual poems. And this is El Parque del Velódromo, also by Broza, in the outskirts of Barcelona. This is a designer's kind of wet dream, because you can actually go here and have a picnic and sit on commas and question marks and parentheses and semicolons. It's amazing. There. Ways of Seeing by John Berger, another big reference. There's a lot to say about this book. I could give an entire talk about it, but I won't today for your own sake. It's a book designed to be read and seen at the same time. It's an amazing book. I'm sure many of you know it, designed by Richard Hollis. I went to meet Richard Hollis several times, and he always said, you know what I don't like about young designers? And I'm like, what? They fill my computer with all these fucking typefaces that I don't really need, because the only thing I need is Universe and Helvetica, and that's it. And there's nothing that you cannot say if in Universe or whatever, and all these, modern typefaces, which is a debatable, of course, subject. The Whole Earth Catalogue was before Google. It was like a counterculture hippie magazine that circulated in the US in the 60s. And it's a big conglomeration of random information stuck together in a magazine format. And I think it's fascinating. I also really like the design. Genesis by Julie Goodehue. She was a young student, and Lars Muller, the publisher, found her work, which was a dissertation, and she interpreted the Bible, the book of Genesis, with icons and pictograms only, and it actually works. So you can read it. There's the Adidas logo, the marijuana logo, or whatever, and it actually makes sense. And you can just read it through icons and pictograms. So it's this relationship between words and images that I find really fascinating. This is a photo book, a tiny, tiny book like this, like the original Book of Mao, by Christina de Miedel, the photographer. And she deleted with Tipex, the parts of the book, so that it actually it has an entire different meaning when you read it, and it relates to the pictures. It's beautifully made, an amazing concept, and if you can get a hold of a copy, buy it, because it's definitely worth having. Things are complicated. They are. Under no circumstances must we relax. Something happened to the A there. The V&A logo, I gave a talk at the V&A last week, and that's why it's here. The V&A logo, designed by Alan Fletcher, a former partner at Pentagram. Napoli. The first time I walked into Pentagram years ago when I was a student was to meet John McConnell, a former partner, and I got this signed because I was a big fan of his work, and I interviewed him as part of my Royal College dissertation, and I now have this hanging in my house. The poster speaks for itself. This is a book cover by David Pearson. I think it's another kind of genius piece, the work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction, and the cover is made with many spines. And actually there's a small indent between them, so when you touch the cover, you can actually feel the different spines. Again, a thing that speaks for itself. Another one by David Pearson, 1984, by George Orwell, censorship, so it's blacked out. Families, Lubalin, Mother and Child, Lubalin. FedEx, once you see the arrow, you never stop seeing it. I didn't see it at first, and it's like, when you see it, it's like, oh, fuck! So there's an arrow. It's genius, the kind of thing we try to do with logos every day, but it doesn't work. The New York Times Magazine, I think Gail Bickler and Matt Willey are doing an absolutely amazing job. This is one of my favorite issues. It's about the city of New York, a special issue, and you have to turn the magazine around, open it, and the typeface was specially designed to make them as tall as the buildings of New York. And actually, the ads they contacted all the advertisers and made the advertisers supply the artwork turned around as well, which was quite an endeavor. Some of the other covers. I like big letters. This is by us, Viva Massimo, a celebration of Massimo Vignelli, a V and an M. English National Opera, designed by Mike Dempsey. There's hundreds of these. Actually, I want to give a talk only about these things, but these are just some some of the references. This one I really like. It's by Pablo Martin, my husband and ex-partner at Atlas. And it was a photo book for a photographer called Consuelo Bautista. And she went to Pablo and said, Pablo, I have all these pictures. She had been taking pictures for 5 years of the of the immigrants that arrived from Africa to the coast of southern Spain. And she was documenting this for a long time. And she said, Pablo, just do whatever you want. I'll give you all my pictures and put them together and do something with them. So this is what he did. Sorry, this is the cover. It's called A los Invisibles, which means to the invisibles. So the cover is printed inside with letterpress. And it's a big, big format so that, not tabloids, broadsheet, so that the pictures could be printed as big as possible. And he designed these beautiful kind of African-inspired textures with letterpress, bits and pieces. The centerfold. And the beautiful thing about the project is that the immigrants themselves, so the ones that arrived in Las Pateras, which are these boats in southern Spain, they distributed the newspapers in the city of Barcelona, and they got paid for it. So it's kind of a perfect, round, a circle that completes itself. Twain Magazine, another big reference, designed by Willy Fleckhaus in the 50s and 60s. And Twain. And we're going to stay with Twain Magazine, so I hope you like this slide. There. One of my favorite, I think this is the last one of my favorite book collections of all times, the Penguin Education Series, designed by Derek Birdsall, whom I went to see several times. I always tell my students, go and meet your design heroes. And they actually are doing it, which is, I think a lot of designers in London are hating me because they probably go there and say, Astrid told me to come. But it's true, you should go and meet the people that you love and say hi and have tea and scones or whatever with them. So again, the covers speak for themselves. Just through type. Derek Birdsall here, that's me. And his wife brought us scones and tea, so I was serious about the scones and tea. Okay, I'm going to show you two more projects, I think. This is another photo book. A photographer called Tony Amengual came to the studio and brought us, I think, like 3,000 pictures that he had been taken of the crisis, the financial crisis that hit everyone in the last crisis, not too long ago. And he was documenting with photography the pain of this in the Spanish population in their looks. So he said, I want to call the book Spain. And we said, but actually, instead of calling it Spain, because the pictures are so painful to look at, why don't we call it Pain? And Spain is here by printing the flag on the edges with a Japanese fold. So actually you had to tear the book apart with a knife or with fingers or whatever to be able to see the picture. So you kind of had to break the book and cause pain to the book in order to understand Spain. So get it? And these are some of the pictures inside. It was also like this because I'll just leave it at that. Okay, one of the last projects before I jump into something else. AGI opened, so again, going to the past. AGI opened 2011, so a few years ago. AGI is Alliance Graphique Internationale, which is a group of graphic designers all over the world, and we get together once a year to talk about design, amongst other things, and have nice dinners together. This was in Barcelona. The year after I was made a member of AGI, and they commissioned us, the AGI event happened in Barcelona, and we designed the entire thing and organized the entire thing. I wasn't so sure of being an AGI member after this because it was so much work during an entire year. As all you guys know, doing the Torino Graphic Days, it's a lot of work. Not only the design, but actually renting the place and inviting the people and getting the money to fly them over and all those things. So because it was in Barcelona, we resurrected a phenomenal thing that is not very well known called Super Veloz. And Super Veloz is, I have to read this, a type system conceived as a response to the economic crisis that happened in Spain during the post-Civil War, because budgets were very limited. And it was designed by a Catalan printer called Joan Trochut, who is the grandfather of Alex Trochut, the illustrator whom some of you might know. And it was the beginning of the 1940s, and it was a visual language that was both beautiful and very flexible. So all of this was done with lead type, and it was a way for the printers to be able to design their own alphabets, but also to make their own ornaments or illustrations or what have you. And so, as I said, it was very versatile, allowing for a number of infinite possibilities and combinations and typographic solutions without the constraints that came with lead type. So this is how it works. Alex Trochut digitalized the typeface in 2000-something with Andreu Valius in 2004. So each character is a glyph or a component of a letter instead of a complete letter in itself. And this is how it works. So we decided to base the entire identity of Agi open using Super Veloz, which was a homage, of course, to the typography of Barcelona and to the history of typography. And there were fights in the studio because everybody wanted to have fun designing these letters. And because the speakers that came to the Open were very famous designers, we just used the initials of the designers as the campaign itself, and this was rolled out across the printed matter and the website and everything you can imagine. So basically, the one and large, they work as illustrations, like type as image. And that's Sang Sang Soo. Okay, two last projects. Who knows which town this is? It's in Italy. It's Fabriano. Italian cities look the same, very similar. It's Fabriano, and we were called, this is a recent project, to design the identity of La Fondazione Fedrigoni Fabriano, which is an amazing, amazing place. This is Gianfranco Fedrigoni, who in the year 2000 bought the Fabriano archives. And we went there to Fabriano, to the old factory. This is how paper was made a long, long time ago. I learned a lot about paper. It's actually a place where you can go and visit upon request. So you call them, bring them, and you can actually go and see this place. I highly recommend it. It's absolutely amazing. So, you know, again, going back to the past, paper molds, how they're made, and this archive is really, I just cannot insist enough. There's Bodoni letters, original Bodoni letters. The clients of this paper are Michelangelo, Beethoven, and people like that. I wish I had those clients in my list of clients. This is a paper mold, so how paper was made, and the thickness of the paper, 100, 200, 3,000 grams, depended on the quantity of pulp you put into these things that you move like that. There's videos of it online. And Fabriano invented the watermark. So actually, it's really interesting, but paper is how, if Napoleon signs a letter, the way in which historians figure out, if there's no date on it, when the letter was signed, and this is not only Napoleon, but every single letter in our history, is through watermarks, which I didn't know. This is how they're made, process. And this is a watermark archive. It's like the history of Italy is in here, actually, the entire history of Italy, the molds and filigrane. So we presented two options. I'll show you the one that they didn't like and why, and the one that they did like. So because this is paper, it's history, it's archive, that's sheets of paper, one on top of the other, representing history, paper, and archives. So this is exactly what we showed to the client. So it's called Fondazione Fedrigoni, Fabriano, 3 Fs. So we took the corners of the papers and added 3 more corners, and that gave us an F. And we thought, that's it, done. So we started stretching the F, things that designers like to do. You know, let's make it flexible and modular, and it can occupy the entire, you know, we can make up and down, so stretching horizontally, stretching vertically. And we were quite happy with this system. Then if you turn the F around, you could make patterns for bags or wrapping paper. Tote bags, which we like showing. And actually, and they really liked this. The client really liked this, but at the same time, Livia, who is the woman you saw in the picture before, she's really La Fondazione Fedrigoni Fabriano. So it's not that they need an entire system like this. If it were a museum or something like that, it would make more sense. But actually, you know, Livia on her own, rolling out this entire kind of system didn't make much sense. So that's one of the reasons why this identity was not. So all of these are mock-ups showing off our Photoshop skills. Okay, so this identity never saw the light of the day, but I like to show it, and it's kind of nice to see things that, you know, you can't see anywhere else. But here, same, similar idea, time, archives, paper, corner. Le filigrane, they're made with 3 different layers of, so you have this, that, and that. I don't know the technical names, but you can look it up online. So the 3 Fs, that's it. The 3 Fs marking the corner. Fondazione Fedrigoni Fabriano. There. Easy, recognizable. That's from above. The Fabriano from above, and we took inspiration from there, and this is the identity. So at the end of the day, they wanted a logo that they could use everywhere, and that's it. So we put a lot of attention in the craft used, so it was silkscreen and foil and the choosing of the papers together with Fedrigoni and Fabriano to make them really, really high-end. So a lot of attention was put into the craft, which you can't really appreciate here. Business cards, tote bags, notepads. The notepads I really like. They're as big as a paper mold. So we have a big and a small one, and they reproduce a paper mold, which is kind of symbolic. It reminds me of a project I did at the Royal College called the Gridded Notepads years and years ago. Brochures. Last project. I'm going really fast, I think. But then we can go all in party with Fabio. Elephant Magazine, I'm going to show you because we're designing a magazine now that is coming out next month with Port Magazine, which I cannot show you, but you can go and buy it in a month's time. But it has similarities with Elephant in a way. And I show you this project because it's, again, getting away from the computer. And of course, you need a computer to design things, but it's a very hands-on, a very hands-on way of working, of printing pages, of making dummies, of putting everything on the wall. And it's, for those who don't know it, it's a British art culture magazine, which actually has been redesigned again recently. So we started designing Elephant with content that we didn't have, so content from the previous issue, which was a bizarre way of working, but we were just looking for the look and feel of the magazine and kind of just fooling around and messing around with type and letters, which is a bit of a waste of time, really, because design is based on content and everything else is just aesthetics or form, unless it's based on the real thing. So we made a dummy with the previous content. Also, the redesign was informed by a change of direction, an editorial change of direction. And then we went to Amsterdam, showed them the dummy, they hated it, we came back, then the real content arrived, we put everything on the walls, started really looking at the content closer and closer and closer, a bit like Antonioni's blow up. So closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. And then we thought, oh God, this content is fucking amazing. And we started reading the entire thing, sifting through the supplied images and letting the content inform how the magazine had to be designed and not the other way around. These are flat plans. This is how books and magazines are made. And printing is very important because designing a magazine is like a film. What goes before and what goes after is equally important. So you have to be able to see everything. And it's a fucking nightmare. But it's a lot of fun. And it was a lot of work, including weekends, late nights, etc. But when you have passion for what you do, it's okay. And we all loved it. Most of the studio got involved in it, had opinions, had goes at the design. And for the first issue, we printed a crazy amount of dummies. I think it was like 50 of them. And we binded them, so cut them and binded here for the first issue. That's Ellen. Her face says it all. You know what I was saying about working late hours. And of course, the computer crashes before going to print. But then we drink beers at 5 in the morning and everything's fine. The magazine is largely typographic. It was a big fight with this is Plantain, a big fight with the editor who said, but can't you use a bit of color on the letters? And we're like, no! It's the content that has to shine, the images, not our type. Our type is not, it's not about, yes, it is about the type, but the type was all about how to bring the content to life, a bit like what I was saying about Interview magazine before. Founders Grotesque, designed by Chris Sowersby. This was the main typeface, and then we had guest typefaces, like kind of these models walking around the magazine in different issues to keep things fun for ourselves so that we didn't get bored. And this is a 3-minute film of some of the pages of the magazine. So, thank you. Keep your eyes open for the magazine. Published in the next Sport magazine, it's a new supplement. I have many NDAs signed at Pentagram, and I've been very busy. I joined Pentagram 8 months ago, and I unfortunately cannot show you many of the things, but because they will invite me, the organizers will invite me next year, I'll keep you posted, and you can see all the new stuff next year. But actually, it's symbolic, and it's symbolic in the sense that I love this sentence. In a way, it's one of the reasons why I decided to join Pentagram. And Pentagram is a place of giants, of dinosaurs. You know, it used to be my big reference as a student, and it's such an honor to be a part of it now. And giants and dinosaurs, but in a way that's, and also a lot of history. It was founded in 1972, which is the year when I was born, actually. So it's exactly 47 years old. So that's quite a lot for a design studio. But what is amazing for Pentagram is the capacity of reinvention and the constant renewal of itself. And what I think they did beautifully, and I think that part of my talk, I hope, showed, is that it's really important to do this and walk backwards just in order so we can do this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We have some time for questions from the audience, if you want. I have a question for you, if I can.
Possiamo fare in italiano, no?
Come preferisci. Dopo la battuta sulla provenienza a Trieste hai, insomma, sdoganato tutto. Ci hai mostrato un sacco di references, un sacco di ispirazioni. Se c'è stato un momento in cui hai smesso di guardare a questi fonti di ispirazione e hai cominciato a concentrarti sul tuo lavoro, sul tuo stile, se c'è stato, perché magari è ancora un percorso in progress.
No, perché sono ancora differenze costanti, è un modo, più che un modo di fare, è un modo di pensare. Ed è quello che non cambia. Quindi insomma qualsiasi cosa, mi piace pensare che qualsiasi cosa che faccio abbia un po' di quello, ma non perché sto guardando a quello, sino perché diventa parte di te, quello che tu ami lo interiorizzi e lo fai tuo, poi talent copies, genius steals, no? Quindi insomma ti prendi le cose che ti piacciono e le fai tue. Non so se ho risposto.
Domande dal pubblico? Qualche curiosità? Sì?
Sì? L'anno prossimo.
Volevo solo così sottolineare il fatto che si vede che ti diverti nel tuo lavoro ed è una cosa bella da vedere e che passa molto. C'è della ricerca, però si vede anche che c'è ancora tanto divertimento nel tuo lavoro ed esce molto bene. Complimenti.
Grazie mille, la domanda più bella che mi hanno mai fatto.
Soprattutto nei primi lavori c'è molto di lavoro manuale, no? L'hai sottolineato anche nella tua presentazione, insomma stare distanti dal computer ha un'importanza. Sei riuscito a mantenere questo tipo di approccio anche nel passaggio in Pentagram?
Sì, ma a Pentagram lavoro con il mio piccolo studio, siamo in 7 adesso, quindi molto simile al mio studio prima, o Atlas, e lavoro indipendentemente, quindi insomma tutto quello che avete visto, quello che sto facendo adesso è la continuazione della stessa cosa, non è che ho dovuto cambiare il colore di capelli o niente per star là, anzi l'opposto, insomma una delle ragioni per unirmi a Pentagram è che posso essere Astrid con tutte queste cose e farle lì invece che a Maiorca o ovunque. Domande?
Nel tuo lavoro c'è molta ricerca, molta sperimentazione e riesci sempre o trovi difficoltà a volte a giustificare anche questa sperimentazione con i clienti? Perché ho visto molti clienti lato comunque del mondo culturale e che forse è più facile. Nel mondo un po' più commerciale trovi difficoltà o riesci in qualche modo a dar valore, a far capire a loro il valore aggiunto che riesci a dare con questa metodologia, con questo modo di ricercare, dare profondità?
Sì, una buona domanda. E la metodologia è la stessa, sia cultura che lavori più commerciali o più, insomma, per un tipo di clientela diversa, è la stessa, proprio è la stessa identica cosa. Solo cambia il cliente, ma il modo di lavorare e di spiegare le cose, includendo la ricerca o la sperimentazione, è la stessa. Magari non mostriamo tutta la sperimentazione che c'è dietro, però sì che è proprio la stessa identica cosa. Ma di nuovo, quando torno l'anno prossimo ti mostro gli altri progetti che non sono cultura.
Grazie. Io volevo chiederti, per chi si approccia magari per la prima volta al mondo della grafica, del design, qualche tuo consiglio particolare, diciamo?
Scappa, corri, sei ancora a tempo. No, avere passione, curiosità e passione, passione e curiosità, io credo che soprattutto curiosità direi, e passione perché è duretta, quindi bisogna veramente mettercela tutta, perché sennò non si va da nessuna parte, ma questo credo che valga per qualsiasi cosa, non solo design, ma curiosità perché tutto informa quello che poi diventi come designer, avere sempre gli occhi aperti, sentir tutto, fare tante domande. Vedo tante domande che non stanno uscendo, sì. Le sento.
Tu hai detto che sei cresciuta in Italia, giusto? Nata e cresciuta.
Sì.
Cos'è che ti ha spinto ad andartene dall'Italia a viaggiare? Cioè, la sentivi stretta? Non avevi abbastanza ispirazione? Non so.
Guarda, l'ha decisa mia madre per me quando avevo 5 anni, sono partita da Trieste, mi ha portato a Madrid, non parlavo la lingua, avevo tutti i cugini che giocavano con le Barbie, detestavo le Barbie, quindi insomma questo è stato il principio, non è stato facile, però sì, sono molto nomadica, forse perché sono nata a Trieste, che non è né Italia né Slovenia, no, ex Jugoslavia, questa cosa un po' schizofrenica e molto nomadica a Maiorca e adesso di nuovo a Londra, quindi insomma sì, c'è un fattore che non che mi annoio, però sì che ogni 10 anni, l'altro giorno pensavo, ogni decada più o meno mi sposto da un'altra parte, per adesso basta, adesso basta, sto ferma.
Grazie.
Ciao, allora io volevo chiederti questo, che rapporto hai con i tuoi collaboratori, nel senso soprattutto da come li selezioni, no? E come organizzi il gruppo di lavoro quando affronti tematiche nuove o progetti, insomma la struttura del tuo studio, partendo dal rapporto umano e professionale, insomma, che vedendo le foto e il modo in cui lavori penso abbia un ruolo importante.
Sì, assolutamente, è una buonissima domanda. Adesso è simile a come lavoravo prima, però c'è una project manager fantastica che fa tutti i numeri che io non so fare ed è un team è molto collaborativo, tantissimo. Difatti adesso normalmente quando do conferenze tipo questa vengono con me i senior designers e parlano loro, perché sembra che ho fatto io tutto questo, invece per niente, è un lavoro fatto fra tante persone. Sì che magari hai la voce finale di dire questo sì, questo no, però insomma qualsiasi lavoro di grafica penso sia collaborativo da un principio fra noi grafisti, fra il team, ma anche con il cliente, quindi by nature è collaborativo. E volevo dire un'altra cosa quindi sì, molto vicino, dove tutti possono avere un'idea, quindi le F, insomma, può venire da chiunque, ma persino dall'intern, perché non lavoro tipo faccio lo schizzo, questo sarà così, no. E molte volte le risposte ai problemi arrivano facendo la ricerca e non prima. Ma ciascuno ha il suo modo di lavorare, questo è il mio. Ma sì, è una buona domanda.
Sulla selezione invece, quando devi prendere un collaboratore nuovo, come...
Sì, questo è alla fine tutta questione di attitudes, più che la qualità del portfolio è la qualità della persona e l'umanità. Quindi può esserci un portfolio meraviglioso, pazzesco, e la persona che hai dietro vedi che è un cretino, una cretina, e dici no, sei bravissimo, bravissima, ma no. Ma è più il fattore umano, perché alla fine lo parlo sempre con il mio team. Stiamo noi insieme, ci vediamo tutti i giorni, respiriamo insieme, mangiamo insieme, ci vediamo più che la nostra famiglia, quindi è una famiglia. L'altro giorno c'era un gruppo di cinesi che sono venuti a Pentagram, ho fatto un talk e mi hanno chiesto, c'era tutto il team, il mio team, e chiedevano, e quelli chi sono? E io ho detto, ma sono i miei amici, perché è così, lavoriamo come amici, come una famiglia. Grazie.
In inglese però.
Ti volevo chiedere, è una domanda un po' retorica forse, però nel tuo lavoro si vede una grande conoscenza della storia del design, cioè emerge proprio, e allo stesso tempo è molto attuale, si vede che c'è una ricerca molto attuale. C'è una continuità, insomma, fra queste due cose? Ti chiedo.
Se c'è una continuità, in che senso? Qual è la domanda? Se la storia è sempre parte del
presente, insomma, se c'è un continuum. Ho premesso che era una domanda un po' retorica, però perché penso di sì, insomma, volevo chiederti se sei d'accordo in realtà.
Sì, ma non è che tutti i progetti devono essere basati sulla storia, però no. Sì che vanno un attimino mano a mano, ma insomma tutto quello che facciamo viene da prima. Difatti, insomma, questa frase we are like dwarves standing on the shoulders of giants è proprio quello, insomma tutto quello che facciamo viene certo. da prima, quindi insomma
volevo dire è importante conoscere il prima per poi fare delle proposte di qualità sul futuro.
Quanto più conosciamo meglio.
Certo. Grazie.
Qualche altra domanda? Ok.
Poi non solo della grafica, è importante conoscere tutto, quindi insomma rispondendo anche alla tua domanda, se viene un gioielliere interessato, forse è più interessante questa persona che non un grafista che che ha fatto tutta la cosa di grafica, non so cosa, che ha solo grafica in testa, perché quanto più farfalle abbiamo meglio, più vola il progetto dopo, no? Insomma, parlando di metafore.
Ok, mi sembra che abbiamo già opzionato Astrid per il prossimo anno, quindi tienti libera nel periodo di ottobre. Fatto. Ringraziamo sentitamente Astrid per il suo talk.